affects everybody. Everybody in this room, everybody watching this documentary. It affects us all in ways we don't even know, in ways that we can't see. The American school system was designed to efficiently sort students, right? And so testing is really a product of that. And testing really carries that out well.
Well, public schools have been around for hundreds of years. The first public school was in Boston, and there I'm not quite sure the date in through there, but I know it's been around for a long time. It's a middle-class institution, as I said. It was designed for, people that were not of color.
I think tests do a really good job of sorting out and helping to ensure that certain people from certain cultural communities and students of color, and not just students of color, but working class students, don't get the same kind of access and privilege that largely white middle class students receive.
I serve in the education committee, so this is an issue that we review with frequency from a perspective of how we provide information to students, how technology has influenced the ability to learn and provide kind of a measure of how much you know. Very definitely, testing is outdated.
What is a test, right? A test in general is like a tool of some kind to use to make judgments about people. And it's used to make judgments about qualities within people.
We've had many researchers, scientists who have come to talk about cultural bias in testing. Sometimes we ask a child to respond to a question as to what this object is, and sometimes children have not seen that object before.
They ask questions on a test like this. Complete the following phrase, cup and you have to choose from 4 words: wall, saucer, table, and window. You know what my friend Eddie put down? Cup and table. Because in his house, they don't have no saucers to put under the cup.
And so the cultural bias in this testing actually reveals that really the ability to do testing that reflects the knowledge and the culture of this kid requires a tremendous amount of work. So it's impossible to do a test that will be appropriate for the knowledge of that kid. And that goes on, all to high school, where really the questions, the way they are framed, the time that is given to the individual to respond is inadequate.
And I remember on the SATs, I think the relationship was painting is to easel as to some other word pair. I didn't know what an easel was. Now, what did that actually say about my intelligence? Nothing. I knew what a stand was, and I could understand the relationship between a painting and a stand. So I think when you think about cultural bias, when you think about institutionalized racism in testing, that's a really good example of how that might work.
And what you're trying to say then, Michael, is it's hard to give the right answers when you don't understand the questions, huh?
High-stakes standardized testing is a form of child labor, in some ways, exploitative child labor, because you're using children to make profits for adults. The IQ in particular is a cultural artifact, and that those who do well on this test have convinced us that this measure of intelligence is real, is legitimate, is natural, but it's not. It's socially and culturally constructed.
The ACTs made me feel really unconfident with everything that I've learned in high school pretty much, because I took it and my score was really bad, and I was like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do next year? Like, my scores really suck. If I can't go to a good college, where's my future? Like, what am I gonna do later on? Like, it just scared me a lot.
Yeah, you could retake it, but why retake it if you think you're gonna fail again, like as bad as you did before?
It's not a reliable way of really measuring somebody's true knowledge. And there's not only portfolios, but oral examinations. There's all kinds of things you can do for testing. But the simplest thing to do is to have everybody sit quietly and throw it through a computer and then spit out answers back, right?
What's the point in testing somebody or having somebody sit there and take a test when they're not, it's not a comfortable environment for them. It doesn't really reflect what they know, what they've learned, and who they are as a student. Taking a test that the district or the Department of Education looks at and then compares you to the other 80,000 kids in the state, that's not about you. That's about somebody who needs numbers.
The state of Minnesota pays a lot of money to these corporations to perform tests and grade these tests. So it's big business. So like anything else, business, money talks.
Maybe it's really a test of income. It's a test of whether or not your parents were able to take you to museums and enroll you in art classes, or if you went to a school in a particular neighborhood that had those kinds of extracurricular offerings.
So I think people are losing track of the power of their voice in terms of political and policy decisions in all areas, but in particular in education. So my answer to that question is that you have the power, that you are in control of what needs to happen in education for the future of education, not just for testing, but for pretty much everything that relates to your education.
I'm not against testing, I'm not anti-testing, but testing for what purpose?
I think a better option would be for the student to choose how they want to be tested, whether that be like a performance or like a written test, but whatever they feel like their strength lies in.
Times have changed, and your ability to influence government, to influence decision makers is greater than ever.